Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I saw that there was a placard up that said we're about to start with Geshe Michael Roach, but it's just me, Utpala, and we're here with class 3 of Foundation Course 8, Death in the Realms of Existence. Thank you for being here today. I think we have a new process with Asian Classics Institute where people have to be allowed into the Zoom. We can't just join automatically. And I think there may be people in the waiting room. So yeah, people are joining, people are coming. I hope you had a great weekend. So before we get started, let's set our, oh, good questions. Let's set our motivation for being here today, for taking this course. And then we'll get into questions. Someone sent me one as well. If it's true that everything we experience is a projection from our minds of a seed that's flowering, a seed that we planted sometime in the past from things we did or said or thought. This experience we have right now comes from a tremendous amount of positive seeds, positive things we did in the past. To have this kind of a body that we have that, allows us to get around in the world pretty well. And this mind that can communicate with others, that has feeling about other people, a love for life, that cherishes other people, a mind that can reason and think, a mind that is curious and creative, a mind that has hope, that we can experience some state of existence where we no longer have pain, suffering, sorrow, a kind of existence with other beings where we have no conflict, no war, no poverty. To have the kind of existence where we have come into contact with teaching that if we follow them, we can reach that kind of a state of existence. And not only did we meet these teachings, but we have an interest in them. We have an interest in putting these teachings into practice in our own lives. All of these experiences, all of those we just thought about, they're all the flowering of a seed that ripened in our mind from what we've done in the past. They're not for certain, these experiences. There are many on this world that we can see who don't have all of these kinds of experiences. Countless numbers of them. the experience we have is very rare in our world. May our time together today plant the seeds for us to continue on this path of placing the teachings into practice so that we can reach the highest goal. And so that we'll be best able to help other living beings do the same and get out of this cycle of suffering. Sashi Puki Jukshi Meto Tram Vira Blingshi Ninde Gambadi Sangye Shindu Mikte Uwargi Joku Namdak Shingla Chuparsho Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kamniyatayami Sangye Chidan Soki Chuknamla Changchu Pardu Dakni Kyapsuji Daki Chishe Kipe Sunamki Jola Penshir Sangye Druparsho Sangye Chudan Soki Chuknamla Changchu Pardu Dakni Kyapsuchi Daki Chishe Kipe Sanamki Dola Pinchir Sangye Chuparso Sangye Chudan Soki Chuknamla Changchu Pardu Dakni Kyapsuchi Daki Chishe Kipe Sunamki Jola Benshir Sangye Truparsho. Great. So we have some questions. Do devas, the paradise being version, belong to the form realm or the formless realm? So any being, not any being, I'll take that back. So devas have form, and so they are in the form realm. There's a version of devas who are in the desire realm. They're the only type of being. Remember, we talked about the 5 types of beings. There's hell beings, there's craving spirits, there's animals, there's humans, and there's devas or paradise beings. Out of those are the only 5 types of beings, with the exception of bardo beings, the intermediate beings. These are the special types of beings uh, who live only in between lives. So no matter which life you have, with one exception, um, between the end of this life and then the beginning of the next life, you will take, they call it birth as a bardo being, but it's really just a very ephemeral. Do you know the word ephemeral? It doesn't have much substance. Um, uh, it its body is doesn't have, it's not hard like ours or like an animal's. Um, and its mind is it's under delusions, much worse than ours. It's like hallucinating all the time. Um, but anyway, it's a very brief life. So it's not counted as a type of birth. It's just the in-between stage between this life and the next life. And then the other kind of being that's not included in the 5 are what they call demigods, which are a type of deva uh, who's not quite as beautiful uh, as other devas. And they have a lot of jealousy. So they are one of the 5, but they're within the 5th one, which is the paradise beings. So out of those 5 beings, there's only one type that lives in more than one realm. And those are the devas or the paradise beings. You can find them in the form realm. And remember, there's 17 levels in the form realm. And those, well, I'll just finish my sentence. You can find them in the form realm in those 17 levels, and you can find them in the desire realm. And we talked about how but it's in the reading, that there are 6 kinds of paradise beings in the desire realm. And in the form realm, there are 17 different kinds. So they have like different experiences, they're slightly different from each other. You might say it's like, differences between people who live, people are human beings. We say there are 4 types of them, or the the Buddhist cosmology says there are 4 kinds of humans, and that's based on which continent they live on. But if we just look in our own experience and we see like someone who lives in, let's say, in the jungles of South America, who is in a tribe of people who have little contact with humans who live other places. So they don't know about like our technologies, um, our dress, uh, like these they would be surprised about. They have a very different experience of being a human than someone who lives, for example, in uh, Ho Chi Minh City, who lives in this very bustling, vibrant city. So it's like that with the devas. Like they have a different experience of being who they are from each other. Like we humans can have very different experiences from each other. Okay. So the second question, to which realm do the semi-devas or the uh, demigods belong? And so they belong to the desire realm. I'm pretty sure that all the devas in the form realm are real devas, but I am not positive. But I know for certain that they do exist in the desire realm. In my hometown, people often speak of the heavenly realm and the realm of spirits and deities. Do these correspond to the form realm or the formless realm? That I don't know. Um, is that coming from a a Buddhist way of thinking, like from or or is it a cultural thing? These heavenly realms or and realms of spirits. I mean, the different religions have different ideas about the world and the existence or not of realms other than the ones we can see. You know, we can see, most of us, there are a few people who can see beings of other realms. I think in all religions. Um, but we only see humans and animals. Uh, so different religions and also I think different cultural ideas. Um, exist about who we are, where we are, how, why we are the way we are, how many different kinds of beings are there. Like the Greeks had mythologies, they're not religions necessarily, that talked about gods living in a higher realm that we can't see, that when we hear thunder in a storm, that's really the gods fighting with each other or something. Um, so I don't know how how they all match, you know. interesting to think about. So here's another question. Do each of these beings exist in themselves, or are they also from our seeds? For example, if we don't perceive them, it doesn't mean they don't exist, right? One thing is, which I'm very glad to see in your question, is that whenever we talk about, you know, whether or not something exists, is to have in our minds the question, to whom or for whom. Did you, Cherry, did you exist before I was aware of your existence right now? Yes. There are many things that that exist and exist for different people. So what we're doing in this course is we're learning about from a teacher who can see all things of all times, all living things and all, you know, non-living things, who can see them all in each instant. And in this person's teachings, he talks about uh, these 5 types of beings living in 3 different realms of existence. And the reason that he talked about this is not so that we could be just, educated about our world and the living beings on it, but so that for us in our existence now as a human being who is cognizant of being in suffering, who is cognizant about, who knows about, is aware about, uh, that he taught us a path to get out of this suffering existence we're in. And so these teachings about all these different realms and all these different kinds of beings are to educate us about the types of experience that we can have if we have created the causes for those experiences. So we may not have direct experience of, a being like a preta, craving spirit, or a being like a hell being, or beings like pleasure being. But we can learn about them. They become, at first, until we have different abilities of sight, if you will, different abilities of experiencing others. They're an idea for us. They're a concept of how different ways that we can experience life. And the Buddha taught what the causes were for those kinds of lives, so that we can look at our own life that we've got now, think about the things we've done, think about the things we could do, and think about what kind of experience we're creating for ourselves in the future. So while we don't see them now, it's that we don't have the karma. We have not created the causes to see them. We created the causes to hear about them, to learn about them, but not to see them yet. Someone asked me in email, in the last class, regarding beings who are aware as they enter the womb. Do ordinary people like us have no awareness at all during this process? Is it the same for beings who are born from eggs? Or do we still have at least a tiny bit of awareness? So awareness is one of those words that I think can be a little bit challenging. I think it's the same in every language. In one sense, awareness is just like being conscious. And we say that the mind, for example, the definition of the mind is that it's clear and aware. And because the mind, we have instance of mind that we've it has no beginning and it will have no end. And so this mind stream, these streams, this stream of instance of being clear and aware, in every moment we are clear and aware, whether we're confused or whether we don't know what's going on, the mind itself is clear and aware. So aware can also mean women, I think in all cultures, know this one really well. We have an awareness of where we are. Women, we have the kind of experience where we have to be careful about where we are because of the existence of violence against women. Um, so like when we're walking down this busy street or a street at night, we have an awareness of where we are, who's around us, uh, where might be places we can go if something happened. We just have this keen awareness going on. So that's a different kind of awareness. It's just not, it's not just consciousness. It is a seeing and experiencing of ourselves in a situation, in a circumstance. So it's that sense of the meaning of awareness, that latter one, um, when we talked about the different types of beings being aware of the birth process. So we all have awareness in every moment. We always have, we always will, because we've got a mind that's clear and aware. Do we know who we are in this moment? Not always, right? So it's that kind of awareness, that second kind, uh, that we don't always have. Like when we sleep, for example, we don't have the second kind of awareness. We've shut down all of our sense perceptions, and we're just in our land of dreams, not really aware of our body even at all. Yay! I'm fine to not see pretas. um, there was a teacher named Geshe Lothar, who was one of Geshe Michael's teachers. Uh, he was related to Ken Rinpoche, Geshe Michael's root teacher. And he came to Diamond Mountain a couple of times to teach us. And he's a person who could see pretas. And he walked around Diamond Mountain and talked about the pretas he saw and advised us about the types of things that would make them happy, so that they wouldn't be like scoundrels and bother us in our practices, in our meditations, in our retreats. And I had a friend who I do have a friend who sees devas. So I know that I haven't seen pretas or devas, but I know people who have. Okay. Wow. That was a lot. Thank you so much for your questions. Okay, let's go on to class 3. So today we are going to talk about um, what 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 life is like for craving spirits and animals. And we're taking this information from the Tenrim Chenmo. Tenrim Chenmo. And this is a book, we talked about it briefly in the first class. But this is a book written by Kadampa Geshe Drolungpa Lodru Chumne. And it's a book about the steps of the teachings. Ten means teaching. Rim means step. Chenmo means great. So this Geshe lived around, we don't have exact dates for him, but he lived around 1100 current era. So a couple of hundred years before Tsongkhapa. And Tsongkhapa wrote a book called the Lamrim Chenmo that many of you may be aware of, whether from teachings that I've given previously or from Geshe Michael, who taught a commentary on the Lamrim Chenmo for many years. It's a very popular book, and it's perhaps the greatest book ever produced from Tibet in the Tibetan language. And it's the gradual steps on the path. So the name is very similar. And it's said that Tsongkhapa used Geshe Drolungpa's Tenrim Chenmo as sort of inspiration for his book. Geshe Drolungpa was a Kadampa. And Kadampa they're early practitioners in Tibet. Early meaning, after Buddhism came to Tibet, when it first got there. And they were known for whatever they heard a teaching, they immediately thought it was for them personally, and they started using it in their lives. So for them, all teachings were very practical and personal. They were known for that. Very, very little writing was done by Kadampas. They were mainly people who put teachings into practice. That was their main thing. Geshe, the word Geshe, that means spiritual friend. In Sanskrit, it's Kalyanamitra. Kalyanamitra. And it's later became known as a word for a high level degree from a monastery. That monks would receive this title or this degree, Geshe, after they finished a long period of study. But at its heart, the word Geshe means spiritual friend. And in the practice of Buddhism, teachers are very, very important. But right underneath teachers are spiritual friends. Us human beings are, we like to be in community. We like to be with other people. And spiritual friends, those who have the same interests that we do, who come into contact with the Buddhist teachings, who have a desire to put those teachings into practice, who have a desire to escape from the circle of suffering. To have friends like that is like the most precious thing. Those kind of spiritual friends. Yeah, cherish them. They're so important. So Geshe Jolungpa's book, the Tenrim Chenmo, contains within it a description about beings who, these 5 different kinds of beings. So as we talk about today, we're talking about craving spirits. There it is. In Tibetan, it's yidak. Yidak. And animals. This information that we talk about today comes from Geshe Drolungpa's book. So, the first thing we'll talk about with regard to craving spirits is what the causes are. What are the things that people did to create the causes to be reborn as a craving spirit? He says there are 4 main causes. There's one general cause, and then 3 specific causes. The general cause is Mige Chupo Dringche. Mige Chupo Dringche. And that is having done the 10 bad deeds, the 10 negative actions, with medium strength. Dring means medium. And we'll get into that. But first, let's talk about the 10 bad deeds, just to list them, right? There are 3 that we can do with our bodies, right? Killing, stealing, sexual misconduct. Sexual misconduct is mainly adultery, but there are other kinds of sexual misconduct. There's actually quite a long list, which makes sense, right? we live in the desire realm, and as we talked about, it's desire about food and sex. So there's a lot of ways that we we can harm ourselves or other people uh, with sex. We've been very creative in those ways. So those are the first three, the ones we do with our body: killing, stealing, sexual misconduct. Then there's four kinds of bad deeds around speech, right? Lying, uh, divisive speech, speech that divides other people from each other. Like, especially we see this during election time, when different candidates, if you live in a country that has elections, different candidates talk bad about each other. Vote for me, not for them, because they're a blah, blah, blah. So lying, divisive speech, uh, harsh words, and idle talk, gossip. So we've got 7 so far, those of body and speech, and there are 3 of mind. Coveting, wanting what someone else has, ill will, sometimes malice, they call it, which is wishing harm would come to somebody else, or being happy when harm does come to somebody else. And then the last one is wrong view, of which there are many types, but the main ones are thinking that there's no karma, that what we do now will have no particular result for us in the future. Or also thinking that there's no future lives. Those are 2 views that if we hold them, it's impossible to get out of the realm of suffering. Impossible. So those are the basic 10 bad deeds. It's an abbreviation, right? The Buddha taught 84,000 kinds of bad deeds. But they're in the category of these 10 bad deeds, so that we can remember them. And so that we can it's much easier to work on cleaning up our actions around 10 negative things we could do than it is to say, okay, I'm going to conquer the 84,000 kinds of negative deeds. We might get disheartened. Okay, so the 10 bad deeds. So what does it mean then to do the 10 bad deeds with medium strength? So medium itself is not really described too much. So if we talk about, let's talk about light strength and heavy strength. And then we know medium is somewhere in between light and heavy. So very light strength would be if you did something without really thinking about it too much. Like if you have the habit of walking down the street and not paying attention to where your feet go, so you kill a lot of little bugs by stepping on them, but it's not like you have an intent to go kill bugs. It's just you're being unaware of the bugs on the sidewalk, and you're killing. So you're committing the act of killing, uh, but it's not very strong. It's light. It's not a good deed, that's for sure. Still a bad deed. It will have consequences, but it's a light. Karmically speaking, it's you will have a lighter result than if you, for example, and this would be the heavy way, if you thought about it, today I'm going to go kill as many bugs as possible as I walk down the sidewalk. And I'm going to wear the kind of shoes that have, flat soles, so that when I walk down the sidewalk, I'm smashing as many as I can. And I'm so happy that I'm going to be doing this because I hate bugs. Bugs, they serve no good purpose, and I really hate them. So that would be with heavy strength. So medium is somewhere in between. So that's the general cause for being born as a craving spirit, is to do, any of the 10 negative actions to medium strength. Now, the 3 specific causes. The first of the 3 is Jimpa Namsun Majimpa. Jimpa Namsun Majimpa. Jimpa means giving. Giving. For example, it's the first of the 6 perfections of a bodhisattva, is generosity or giving. Namsum, those of you who took Foundation Course 1, you may be familiar with that phrase, Namsum. Yes, 3 types. Excellent. From Lamso Namsum, the 3 principal paths. So 3 types. Okay, so we've got 3 types of giving. Majimpa. That's just Jimpa with this little ma in front of it, which is a negative particle in Tibetan. So it means the first specific cause, failure to give the 3 types of giving, failure to perform the 3 types of giving. So let's just briefly go over the 3 types of giving. The first type of giving is Sang Sing Ki Jimpa. These have a sa, low tone sa. Sang Sing Ki Jimpa. Sang Sing. That means material wealth. Things. could be food, could be clothing, could be a place to stay, could be a car. Material things, the things that people need in order to live. So this first type of giving is giving material wealth, giving material things. Someone needs a place to stay, you give them a place to stay. Someone needs a warm coat in the winter, you give them a warm coat. Someone is hungry or thirsty, you give them food or water. So that's the first kind of giving. The second kind of giving is called Minjikpe Jimpa. Minjikpe Jimpa. So we have Jimpa again. We will have it in all of them. That's the giving part. So Minjikpe, this again has this negative particle. So let's look at jikpe. You may have heard of jikje, maybe if you've been around Buddhism for a long time. Well, yes, there's Jikme, who we know, many of us know, Venerable Jikme. She's a nun. She's a very dear friend of mine. And her name is Jik with, it's spelled like this. And that me is another negative particle. So we can use her name as the example here. Jik means fear, to be afraid, to be frightened. And then me, or me, like in Venerable Jikme's name, means not being afraid, or in Venerable Jigme's case, it's literally has no fear. That's such a cool name. And she is Jigme. Anyway, so of the three types of giving, Minjikpe Jimpa means giving no fear. Well, what does that mean? That means giving protection. If someone is afraid, you give them protection from the situation that causes them to be afraid, right? So, for example, you protect people from being in hazardous situations. Like if there's a dangerous part of town where a lot of people get robbed or mugged, you can guide someone to go to some other part of town so that they avoid being in a place where they could be robbed. So things like that. If we have pets, like here I live in a desert, And there are a lot of uh, wild animals who are very hungry around. Coyotes and wolves and all kinds of rattlesnakes, all kinds of animals that can bring harm to others. And so when I was taking care of my friend Rebecca's cat, I was very careful about keeping her inside because I wanted to protect her from the coyotes and the wolves and the snakes. So, like that, that's the second kind of giving. So, we've got giving material things, and we've got giving protection. The third type is called Chukichimpa. I really want to let this person into our Zoom meeting. They've been in the waiting room a long time, but I have not been given permission to do that. Yay, thank you. Okay. Chukichimpa, the third type of giving. Chu is dharma. Dharma. And here it means dharma teachings. So Chukichimpa is giving dharma teachings. It's sharing about the teachings with other people. And this is the highest type of giving because this gift of the Dharma teachings are, you know, what we need to understand, what we need to put into practice in order to get out of the cycle of suffering. And in particular, the teachings of this course, if we understand the causes, you know, what actions do I do that could create the causes for me to be reborn as a craving spirit or an animal or any of the others? If I understand what those causes are, then I can avoid creating those causes, right? I can do what I can to avoid them. So teaching the Dharma is considered the highest type of giving. Okay, so why did we talk about the three types of giving? Because the second cause of being born as a craving spirit, the first specific cause, is failing to do the three kinds of giving. Right? The first was doing any of the 10 bad deeds to a medium level. The second is failing to give the three types of giving. The second specific cause is Serna. Serna. And that means being stingy. So failing to give could be for any number of different reasons. Being stingy means we're holding on to what we have with a tight grip. We don't want to lose anything that we have, you know. We don't want to share, we don't want to give money because that means we'll have less money and we need that money. I don't want less. It should always be more. Uh, Failing to give, I don't know, failing to give someone something to eat because we really want to eat that thing later ourselves. You know, that's mine. I I get use of it. So uh it's a kind of possessiveness, holding on to things. The third specific kind, a specific cause to be reborn as a craving spirit is trado. Trado. And trado means jealousy. It's a really, it's a nasty thought for someone who is practicing the Buddhist teachings to have jealousy. Um, you know, we're supposed to be happy when people get what they want, right? Um, because we want other people to be happy, but to be jealous of somebody else. Uh, I really wish they didn't get that raise. I wish they didn't get that fancy new car. And it's a common thing among humans in general, right? Someone we don't like, they get something good. We're like, why do they get something good? They don't deserve it. So it's this feeling of this nasty feeling of being upset because someone gets something that makes them happy. Now, we're not talking, you know, trado doesn't apply if, let's say that this person has some sort of mental uh, problem, and what brings them happiness is bringing other people suffering. Like they're deranged human beings. They like to hurt other people. Um, if that person does what makes them happy, which is hurt other people, it's not jealousy to be upset that they're getting what they want. Okay. So jealousy here as a cause for being born as a craving spirit is more about like um this sort of like, why didn't I get that thing? Or I don't have this thing. I want this kind of thing. I want the new house. I want a new car. I should have got that promotion at work. I should have gotten that raise. Like that. So those are the one general and three specific causes for being born as a craving spirit, 10 negative deeds in to a medium level, failing to do the three kinds of giving, being stingy, and jealousy. So why are these the causes of being born as a craving spirit? So we're going to talk a little bit about the process. It's not like, I mean, if we think about it a little bit, we'll see that there's a relationship between the cause and the result. That between, being stingy, for example, being a cause for being the kind of being who's always craving things and is never satisfied. So what is karma? Those of you who took course 5, this will all be familiar to you. Karma is movement of the mind and what it brings, what it inspired. Karma is any time the mind moves, any movement of the mind. And in this case, what we're talking about is, thoughts or emotions or, objects we are considering with our mind. Every time we move our attention, that's a karma. And then what it brings, that when we move our mind to something, we take that thing into consideration, and then we often say something or do something related to that, or think something about that thing. It can be an emotion as well. So, movement of the mind and what it brings. They say that in a single finger snap, there are 67 moments of mind. So there could be 67 karmas created in each finger snap. Those of you who are interested in Tibetan, say Goltokpa. That means finger snap. And Chadsoki Kechikma, primarily for those of you who are interested now. Chadsoki Kechikma. That means within a finger snap. Within that time, completed in an instant. So 64 in each instant. So we're creating all this karma. Tons of karmic seeds we're planting every day. Where does it go? Where does it stay? Oh, there's a interesting question here. So is it the same? So we're planting 64 in each instant. Aren't we also experiencing the ripening of 64 karmic seeds in every instant? Yeah, but there's something interesting about karma. Many interesting things about karma. One is that there's a time gap between when we plant a seed, between when the mind moves, creating a cause, and when we experience the result of that cause. And we learned that the time gap can be in this life, very rarely, in the next life, or in some life after that, right? So there's a period of time which ranges from pretty long, could be decades, to really long, could be hundreds of years. Another interesting thing about karma comes in the four things about karma I wanted to talk about. It's the second one, but we'll jump there. Le Pelchewa. Karma grows. So we plant a seed, and like a seed, it grows. Well, the seed doesn't grow, but let's say like a plant. From the time it was a sprout until the time that it is a sequoia, which is a type of evergreen tree we have in California in the United States that is hundreds of feet tall. It's humongous tree. They say it doubles every 24 hours, the power, if you will, or the size of a seed. Seeds don't have sides. They're potential. They're not physical things like a seed. So they grow. So in this period of time, the time gap between when we make the cause and when we experience the result is huge. So it's not an even thing. Planting 64 seeds every instant and experiencing the result of 64 seeds in every instant. It's not a wash, because there's the gap between when a seed is planted and when the result comes. And because during that gap, karma grows exponentially. But thank you for bringing that up. That's a very important thing for us to understand. Okay, so the other of the types of karma that I wanted to talk about, or properties, I guess you could say, of karma. The first one is lengepa, which means that the result is similar to the cause. Meaning, actually, ngepa is certainty. Certainty. If we do something that brings pleasure to someone else, the result will be we will experience pleasure in the future. If we do something that harms ourselves or someone else, we will experience a similar harm in the future. It's impossible for us to create a positive experience by doing something that harms. Impossible. There is a certainty between the cause and the result in karma. So the second one we already talked about, karma grows. The third is lema chepa dang mitraipa. No result will come if we don't create the cause. Results don't come from thin air. Results don't come from someone, giving us some gift from the heavens. We create the causes. If we don't create the causes, we can't experience the result. And then the last of the four properties are lechepa chumisawa, which means if we create a cause, its result must come. Causes don't get lost. We can do things to, for example, if we've done negative things, there are practices that we can do to harm those seeds, to make them have a smaller result than they otherwise would have. But this isn't a karma course. I just want to generally go through these aspects because, we're talking about in this course, what are we doing that creates a whole different experience as a type of being living in a type of place. We're talking about very big results. We're not talking about, whether someone smiles at us so we're walking down the street, or whether someone gives us a promotion at work. We're talking about what kind of being are we? We're talking about what does my world look like? Everything we experience in every moment, as our friend Sherry said in the chat, is because seeds are flowering. That's all. Everything we experience is the flowering of seeds from what we've done in the past. Nothing else. There's no human being no infant that we shoot into to be born as a human being. No, we look down in an instant and we experience ourselves as human. If we were to experience ourselves as a craving spirit, if we're very stingy, if we spend our lives like that, not sharing what we have, one day we'll look down and we'll see ourselves as one of these kind of beings. And I really should go on because I've got only 15 minutes left. But do spend some time thinking about, that this is not just, interesting information. This course provides us tools so that we can create the causes to continue to be this kind of being that we are, or higher, this or enlightened, because any other type of being, it will be very, very difficult, if not nearly impossible, to get out of suffering. We have this precious life, this kind of body as a human who's aware of it, interested in the teachings, and can take information and incorporate it into our hearts and our lives and our what we do. That's a rare kind of being in any of the realms. So let's create causes for that, and not the causes for being born as these other kind of beings. Okay. Point made, I think. All right. Now, there are 3 kinds of craving spirits. There's Chi Drupachen, which means a person who has external obstacles, outer obstacles. Yeah, everyone take a drink. I'm sorry, I'm talking so much. Live translators, don't be parched. I love you too much. Outer obstacles. Obstacles are on the outside. So what this means is this craving spirit is, it's usually about hunger and thirst. And they're really thirsty. They're like craving something to drink. And they see in the distance, oh, there's a beautiful flowing river, clear water. Finally, my thirst will be quenched. And they go running over. They get to the water and they lean down. And just as they're about to take a drink, it turns into pus and blood and shit. Disgusting. And this happens all the time. Whenever they go to get something to eat or drink, they have this craving. They see something beautiful. They go running towards it. And it turns into crap where they can't partake. This is how they spend their lives, running around with this craving. And that's just one type. So those are the craving spirits with an outside obstacle. Then the next kind, as you might guess, is Nangi Drupachen, which is those who have an inner obstacle. And these are craving spirits who, you may have seen pictures of them. They have skinny necks, like the diameter of a piece of spaghetti noodle or rice noodle. Teeny tiny necks. Nothing can get in. Or a teeny tiny mouth. Like maybe they could get 1 drop of water in. So they're never satisfied. Because their body doesn't allow them to take in food and drink at the level that would satisfy them. So they're never satisfied. Then the third type is sekom gidripachen, which sekom means food and drink. So these are craving spirits with an obstacle to food and drink. And in this case, distinguished from the internal obstacle, in this case, the food and drink burns them, or it feels like drinking acid. Like the food and drink itself turns into something that is very painful, really painful, like worse than drinking acid. So they're also never satisfied. So those are the three types of craving spirits. Now, I said we were going to also talk about animals, and I think we can do that really quickly because we have experience of animals. We're familiar with them. We can see those kind of beings. The general cause of being born as an animal is doing the 10 negative actions at a really lesser extent. So we talked about like walking down the sidewalk. You're killing bugs, but you're not even conscious of it. You know, it's not like you're not doing it on purpose, for sure. It's just, it's happening and you're just not looking at where your feet are going. There are specific causes. Geshe Drolungpa gives two. This is doing things over and over and over and over again. Little, like if doing little negative deeds over and over and over and over again. Like even though we've heard the teachings about protecting life and the negative result from killing, we fail to look down at the sidewalk. And we do that over and over. We just don't put that particular teaching into practice. Or maybe we're fond of telling little white lies. That's an idiom in US English. They're called white lies because they don't really harm somebody else. You're not leading someone to a misconception for the purpose of harming them, but still, it is a form of deception. And you do it over and over again. Or you like to, like, for example, in exaggeration. Oh, I've saved countless living beings from being killed by shooing them away from me rather than smashing them. Or I did retreat for years and years. Or I have tens of thousands of students. So these are little things that don't harm anyone, but they're lies. But having that habit and not doing anything about it, that can be a specific cause for being born as an animal. The other specific cause that Geshe Drolungpa mentions is failing to respect those who are worthy of respect. Not respecting our parents, not respecting our teachers, not respecting those uh, who are elders in the sense that they've been doing what we're doing, but for a longer period of time, like respecting, as we talked about earlier, our spiritual friends, respecting spiritual friends who've been practicing longer than we have. And even in day-to-day life, respecting those who have done the kind of work that we do, who have done that kind of work longer than we have. They are deserving of some respect. And just to wrap up, I got 2 more things to say in 2 minutes. Yay. Okay. The suffering of animals, they are in constant fear of their lives. Constant. Never ends. They are full of fear because other animals want to eat them. Or if it's a cat, they'd like to kill them for play. Or if it's a donkey, human beings like to keep them in a leather harness and keep them in a cage. So they're in constant fear. Constant. We tend to think that, oh, look at that cute little kitty. They're so sweet. Or look at that little deer. Oh, he's so cute. What a lovely life. Walking in the meadows. No, he's afraid. That's why they run away. Okay, where do animals live? Geshe Drolungpa talks about 2 places. Jingnanepa and Katorwa. Jingnanepa, that means in the depths, which means in the oceans. And Katorwa, it's an interesting word. It means scattered about. So most animals live in the oceans, and the rest of them are all scattered about. They're in the air, they're in the ground, they're walking on the ground. And that's where they live. Okay. Did it. Okay, quickly. Let's do a quick. We don't have time to do the prayers, so just quickly. We don't have time to do prayers together. If you like to do prayers, please do after class. But just be grateful for Geshe Michael and his teachings, for the live translators who take these words and speak them in a language you can understand, for Asian Classics Institute for giving us this platform that we can all use to gather together from all around the world. It's just amazing. In the same moment, to be together, to contemplate these things. May this always continue. May we always continue to learn more, and may we put these teachings into practice. And may we get out of the realm of suffering. May we help all other beings get out of suffering. Thank you so much for being here, for your attention, for your practice. I love you. And I'll see you on Thursday. Oh, Friday. You're right. Friday, not Thursday. I don't know why I always say that. Thank you, Cherry.
Thank you, teacher. 谢谢 Persis。
See you Friday.